2,000 years ago, Europe's map was drastically different from the one we see today. The ancestors of modern nations such as the English, Serbs, and Spaniards lived in entirely different regions of Europe. People frequently migrated between areas, and it wasn't until the 5th and 6th centuries AD that they began to settle down, forming the first European states. This period is known as the Migration period, and it is rooted in the dominance of the Roman Empire, which controlled much of Europe. However, the areas outside Roman rule were inhabited by what the Romans called barbarians. The term barbarians was used by the Romans to describe the various tribes whose languages they mocked, considering them uncivilized. Despite this disdain, the Romans recognized the strength of these tribes, particularly the Germanic peoples. Early Roman contact with the Germanic tribes began when the Cimbri tribe encroached upon Roman territories. Driven by a lack of adequate land, the Cimbri crossed into Roman territory, reversing the balance of power for a time. Although the Romans eventually defeated the Cimbri, they acknowledged the bravery of the Germanic warriors and began integrating them into the Roman military, especially under Julius Caesar and Emperor Tiberius. As the Germanic population grew due to favorable agricultural conditions, they began migrating in search of new land. Around the 70s AD, the Goths left Gotland and moved toward the Vistula River, eventually establishing a kingdom after defeating the Sarmatians. However, this led to prolonged conflict with the Romans, culminating in Emperor Marcus Aurelius's successful defense against the invading tribes. Yet, after his death, his son Commodus allowed the defeated tribes to settle in Roman territory, marking the beginning of Germanic settlement within the Roman Empire. The Goths frequently raided Roman lands and won significant victories, such as the Battle of Abritus in 251 AD, where they killed Emperor Decius. By 271 AD, the Romans were forced to relinquish control of Dacia to the Goths. The Goths' power peaked under King Ermanaric, who expanded their influence over neighboring tribes such as the Alans and Slavs, and maintained strong commercial ties with Rome. However, the Goths faced a new threat in the form of the Huns. In 375 AD, the Huns invaded Gothic lands, forcing the Goths to flee to Roman territories. Many Goths sought refuge in the Roman Empire, and Emperor Valens allowed them to settle, hoping for their assistance in the ongoing war against Persia. Unfortunately, the influx of Goths caused tensions with the local population, and mistreatment by Roman officials led to a rebellion. The Goths ultimately defeated Roman forces at the Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD, where Emperor Valens was killed. Emperor Theodosius eventually managed to make peace with the Goths by allowing them to live within the empire in exchange for military service. The Goths played a significant role in suppressing internal revolts and supporting Theodosius's campaigns. Alaric, who would later become the first great king of the Visigoths, served Theodosius loyally but eventually became disillusioned with the empire after Theodosius's death. Alaric led his Gothic army to invade Greece and later Italy, culminating in the sack of Rome in 410 AD, a pivotal event that marked the decline of Roman power. At the same time, other Germanic tribes were also on the move. The Vandals, Alani, and Suebi crossed the Rhine into Gaul, and the Roman Empire, unable to defend its borders, called upon the Franks to protect Gaul. The Burgundians, fleeing the Huns, established a kingdom in Gaul. The Vandals, led by their king Gaiseric, eventually left Spain and crossed into Africa, where they captured Carthage and established their kingdom. In the meantime, Britain was undergoing its own transformations. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes began migrating to Britain, displacing the local British tribes. These groups laid the foundations for the future unification of the English people. The Huns, under their fearsome leader Attila, became the dominant force in Europe during the 5th century. Attila built a powerful army and launched numerous raids against both the Eastern and Western Roman empires. He forced the Romans to pay tribute, but when Emperor Valentinian III refused Attila's marriage proposal to his sister, Attila invaded Gaul. The resulting Battle of the Catalaunian Plains in 451 AD was one of the largest and bloodiest battles of the era, involving almost all major barbarian tribes. Despite significant losses on both sides, the battle ended in a stalemate, and Attila retreated. Attila's campaigns continued, and in 452 AD, he besieged Rome, but was persuaded to withdraw by Pope Leo I. Shortly thereafter, Attila died under mysterious circumstances, and his empire quickly collapsed as his sons fought for control. The Huns faded from history, and their former subjects, such as the Ostrogoths, gained independence. The fall of the Western Roman Empire officially occurred in 476 AD, when the Germanic warlord Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, and declared himself king of Italy. This marked the end of Roman rule in the West, although the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantium, continued to survive for centuries. Following the collapse of the Huns, the Ostrogoths, led by Theodoric the Great, established their kingdom in Italy after defeating Odoacer. Meanwhile, the Franks under King Clovis defeated the Visigoths at the Battle of Veii in 507 AD, securing control over much of Gaul and establishing the future borders of France and Spain. In Africa, the Byzantines launched a successful campaign to reclaim the former Roman territories from the Vandals, and the surviving Vandals were driven into the desert. The Byzantines then turned their attention to Italy, where they waged a series of wars against the Ostrogoths, eventually enlisting the Lombards to help them. However, the Lombards stayed in Italy and established their kingdom. During this time, the Slavic peoples began migrating into the Balkans, filling the vacuum left by the declining populations due to plague and war. The Slavs eventually settled in areas such as the Peloponnese and even founded new kingdoms like Great Moravia. The arrival of the Bulgars in the 7th century further reshaped the Balkans, leading to the establishment of the Bulgarian Khanate. The final major migration of this period involved the Magyars, who settled in the Black Sea steppes before moving westward into what is now Hungary, establishing the foundations of the modern Hungarian state. By the end of this period, the foundations of modern European nations had been laid. The migration of tribes during this time fundamentally reshaped Europe, as the barbarian kingdoms formed during the migration period became the precursors of the nations we know today, such as France, Spain, Italy, and Hungary. The migration period, also known as the barbarian invasions, was a time of significant movement and resettlement of peoples across Europe. This era began around the 4th century and continued into the early medieval period. The migrations were driven by various factors, including climatic changes, population pressures, and the decline of the Roman Empire. Tribes such as the Goths, Vandals, Huns, and Franks moved across the continent, often clashing with the Romans and each other. These movements reshaped the political and cultural landscape of Europe, laying the groundwork for the formation of modern European nations. The Goths, originally from Scandinavia, began their significant movement southward in the 2nd century. By the 3rd century, they had established themselves as a formidable force, challenging the might of the Roman Empire. The Goths were divided into two main groups, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. Under the leadership of Alaric, the Visigoths famously sacked Rome in 410, marking a pivotal moment in the decline of the Western Roman Empire. The Ostrogoths, led by Theodoric the Great, later established a kingdom in Italy, demonstrating their ability to adapt and thrive in new territories. The relationship between the Goths and the Roman Empire was complex and often fraught with tension. Initially, the Goths served as foederati, or allies. The Huns, a nomadic group from Central Asia, began their invasion of Europe in the 4th century. Their swift and brutal attacks caused widespread panic and displacement. Led by the infamous Attila, the Huns were known for their ferocity and military prowess. This invasion significantly destabilized the region, contributing to the eventual downfall of the Western Roman Empire. By the late 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was in a state of decline. Economic troubles, military defeats, and internal strife weakened its once formidable structure. In 476 AD, the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. This event marked the end of ancient Rome's dominance and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. During the late Roman Empire, the Goths, a Germanic tribe, split into two main groups, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. The Visigoths, under King Alaric, famously sacked Rome in 410 AD. Meanwhile, the Ostrogoths, led by Theodoric the Great, established a kingdom in Italy. This division of the Goths played a crucial role in the shaping of early medieval European history. The Vandals and the Saxons, two formidable groups, played significant roles in reshaping the landscape of ancient Europe. The Vandals, known for their seafaring prowess, established a powerful kingdom in North Africa. Meanwhile, the Saxons, originating from the Germanic regions, began their migration towards the British Isles. Their movements and conquests left lasting impacts on the regions they settled in. The decline of the Huns marked a turning point in European history. After the death of their formidable leader, Attila, the Huns struggled to maintain their dominance. Internal strife and external pressures from other tribes led to their gradual disintegration. By the end of the 5th century, the once feared Huns had largely vanished from the historical stage, leaving behind a legacy of both terror and transformation. The rise of the Ostrogoths heralded a new era in the late antiquity period. Under the leadership of Theodoric the Great, the Ostrogoths established a kingdom in Italy. Theodoric's reign was marked by a blend of Roman traditions and Gothic culture, creating a unique and prosperous society. His efforts to maintain stability and foster cooperation between the Goths and Romans were pivotal in shaping the future of the region. Now let's delve into the fascinating history of the Franks and the Visigoths. The Franks, a Germanic tribe, rose to prominence in the late Roman Empire. They played a crucial role in shaping medieval Europe. Meanwhile, the Visigoths, another Germanic tribe, are well known for sacking Rome in 410 AD. Their journey didn't end there. They went on to establish a kingdom in what is now Spain and southern France. These two tribes, with their rich histories, significantly influenced the course of European history. The Byzantine Empire, renowned for its strategic military prowess, embarked on numerous conquests during its zenith. These campaigns not only expanded the empire's territories, but also brought a blend of cultures under its dominion. The Byzantines, with their sophisticated tactics and advanced weaponry, were a formidable force in the ancient world. As the Byzantine influence spread, the Slavs began to establish settlements across Eastern Europe. These communities, characterized by their unique customs and traditions, played a crucial role in shaping the cultural landscape of the region. Over time, the Slavic tribes formed the foundation of several modern European nations. In the late 9th century, the Magyars, a nomadic people from the Ural region, arrived in the Carpathian Basin. Their arrival marked a significant shift in the power dynamics of Central Europe. The Magyars, known for their exceptional horseback riding and archery skills, soon established the Kingdom of Hungary, leaving a lasting impact on the region's history. As we conclude our journey through ancient European history, it becomes evident that the conquests, settlements, and migrations of various peoples have profoundly shaped the continent. Each event, from the Byzantine conquests to the arrival of the Magyars, has contributed to the rich tapestry of Europe's past. Understanding these historical moments allows us to appreciate the diverse and complex heritage that defines Europe today.